Hello, guys. So, for today, we're going to talk about agents. Um, so, this topic might have come across if you are working on building your own product, or maybe if you're working in some company that agentic engineering is becoming very important. Agentic engineering is basically that how do you make LLM to do something for you? This can be that you want LLM to, let's say, act as a customer support agent for you, or you maybe want LLMs to do the research for you, or act as a product manager for you, or as a designer for you. Or the typical use case that you can actually see in the market is acting as a customer support agent. So if you actually remember, the customer support agent, the computer automating things for you, is not really a new phenomena. This has been the case even before LLM as well, that you had all of these applications where you will chat with them and then they will be able to reply to you and then help you, right? But they were very dumb. They were not able to think. They were not able to interpret what you are actually trying to say. They were very deterministic in nature, right? So they were basically like, okay, let's say I want to ask about how to get the refund, right? Now, rather than me entering the text like this and then giving me some options, it basically was like them giving me options beforehand only, that okay, like if you want to refunds, then press 1, or if you want cancellation, then press 2, or if you want something else, then press 3, right? So all of that boring thing that used to happen before, but that is actually changing now. If you have been part of the, maybe let's say in interview tomorrow, and they ask you that how this process is going to change in the future, that is what actually you are going to cover in this video. And the product that you are going to build is going to be open source, so you can actually use it, download it, or maybe if you want you can try to improve it and then sell it as well, right? Basically it's open source, a very basic project that you are going to build. And then my main focus is that okay, it is going to be a vibe coded project, by the way. It's not that I'm going to code myself. I think nobody does, even though I feel very afraid about that topic too. I think we need to think. I think we need to code as well, but that's a topic for another day. And another thing that we're going to talk about is that what is the basic difference between building something like a chatbot where it just tells you that okay, for a refund press this, for a cancellation press this, versus building agentic, right? And then a little bit we will get in the loop as well, right? That how do you actually build the agents that can actually take you into the loop. So what exactly are agents, right? So let's start with very basic thing. Let's say you have the question. Let's say your question is that I want to book a ticket for tomorrow, right? Well, that's the question that you have, right? Maybe the computer will not be able to understand it, but LLMs can. And what is LLM? LLM is basically all of these models that we have in the market, right? It is like, you can say ChatGPT, for example, is the LLM that you can use, which actually can interpret things for you. So basic idea is that you might think you have the question and then you would just send this message to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT will be able to, let's say, reply back to you and be like, okay, this is how you book the tickets for tomorrow. But the problem is ChatGPT doesn't know anything about you, right? Does ChatGPT know what your company is? Does ChatGPT know what kind of ticket is even the customer talking about? Is this like a movie ticket, or is this supposed to be like a flight ticket, or is this supposed to be about concerts, right? So there are a lot of product domain knowledge that is there, which ChatGPT will not know about. So by default, it is not going to be that you just integrate ChatGPT with your customer support chat and it is going to resolve those things for you. This is simply a chatbot, right? You need something in between that is going to actually help you to actually, interpret what the customer is trying to say and then figure out how to help the customer. And now the simplest way is you can do this thing as a chat as well, right? Let's say my requirements are very simple, and what I can do is I can add the prompt that is going to be like, if customer is talking about booking a ticket for tomorrow, then just reply book on Make My Trip, right? So you can just say this thing also, right? Like now ChatGPT knows that, okay, you probably work in Make My Trip, right? And then you probably want customers to go to Make My Trip if they want to book something for you. But this is very minimal in nature, right? Ideally, what's going to happen is that you would want ChatGPT to be able to actually do the booking for you as well, to do the booking for the customer as well. Or maybe if ChatGPT itself is not able to handle the request, then it is able to actually escalate it to human. So there are a lot of things that comes in, right? The first thing is that you have to decide if you can resolve this thing or not, right? So there can be two scenarios. So the first scenario is that you are able to resolve the thing, right? Let's say you say that, okay, like this is easy to do, right? So you have to define what the easy is. And then the second thing is going to be, you have to define what the difficult is, right? Where you need human in loop. And that is where the human in the loop comes in. Human in the loop is basically when your bot, when your chat GPT, what you are trying to build is not able to, let's say, resolve your issue, then you would want it to be, let's say, escalated to human, so that human can resolve it properly, because there is a lot of nuances to it as well, right? Let's say I say that I want to book a ticket, but make sure that you buy it below the actual price, right? Now this is something where where the customer is trying to, let's say, hack into the ChatGPT and say that, okay, whatever the price is, book it below it, right? Or you can say that I want to book a ticket, and if you don't do it, then I will sue you. Right. Now, this is something where it is like a legal escalation. This is like a simplest thing. But if I say I want to cancel a ticket, and if you don't, then I will sue you. And let's say I'm a lawyer myself, right? Now, this is something that you don't probably want to automate, because the problem is, even if you do automate this thing, and then you reply to customer that, okay, you will not be able to cancel the ticket because of given reason, and then ChatGPT ends up making a mistake, it is going to cost you. So what you would rather want to do is, you would rather want this thing to actually go through the human in the loop. So that is the first part of everything that you're going to build. That is to figure out what the agent is actually going to do and what agent can do. Because if you are building something where you want agent to automate everything for you, you haven't thought through all of the nitpicks of your product itself, right? Maybe the product is very simple that you are building, but if you think there can be critical scenarios, then you have to think about it. So you have to divide it into what is easy and what is difficult for agent, right? You have to think from the LLM perspective. LLMs can hallucinate as well. LLM needs guardrails as well, right? So they need everything in between so that they're able to reply properly to you. So now let's say, how do we define what is easy and what is human in the loop, right? And that is where the product knowledge comes in. And product knowledge is something where I think everybody's talking about these days. If you look at the Satya Nadella's article today, it is all about that thing only. It is all about that, how the models like ChatGPT that we talked about, right? Maybe tomorrow ChatGPT will not be publicly available for everybody, the frontier models, let's say. Maybe tomorrow it is that you have to use DeepSeek for doing things. You can't really be dependent on LLM models to actually build your products and then to sustain in the market, because these models can change. These models might actually not be able to work at the highest capacity if that they do right now. So you need the layers on the top of it so that you are able to do the things properly. Even if you have to change ChatGPT, let's say tomorrow with DeepSeek, right? Then you are able to do it, right? Let's say the DeepSeek is the model that you like because it's cheaper, and then it also doesn't lock you. And then you maybe would want to actually, replace this with DeepSeek someday. The way you can do that is actually by looking into the product knowledge. So what exactly is the product knowledge? Product knowledge is everything basically. You can say product knowledge are the notes, right? They can be the notes, the sticky notes that you're going to make. The sticky notes in a sense that, okay, like here is everything about refunds, right? Where you're going to write down refund policy is that you can only do it within 14 days. And there can be a lot of other things as well, right? Maybe you should talk to your, maybe if you look into your own business, right? There can be a lot of these things that you already do. This can be that, okay, the cancellations are only available when you haven't bought the product through EMI, right? Now, let's say there are all of these nuisances. In actual world, this one is going to be very large in nature, because let's consider Microsoft, right? Microsoft maybe has refunds and cancellation policy too, but then they also has a lot of products as well, right? Their products are literally like infinite in nature, right? So this one is, let's say, applies to Office, right? And then they have the Windows product, right? For Windows product they will need different policies, and same thing goes for you as well. Maybe what you do is, maybe you sell insurance, right? And then you also sell the let's say you also sell flights, right? And then you also sell the hotels, right? So there is a lot of nuances that goes in between how do you actually are going to interpret what the customer is going to say. Maybe this is not something that you would have thought about already, but this is something that you do require. If your model that you are thinking is that you will just be able to resolve everything through ChatGPT, through models, then that is not really the correct model, because ChatGPT doesn't know anything about your product. You need the product knowledge to be involved so that ChatGPT can access that. So how do you do it? How do you actually give the access of product knowledge to the ChatGPT? Well, that is where the agent harness comes in. So what exactly is agent harness? So if you actually look into it, ChatGPT is not just about replying to text, right? It is also about having the memory, right? Now, what exactly is the memory? Memory can be the notes that the ChatGPT has saved for you, right? The notes that ChatGPT has saved for you. If you remember, if you have used ChatGPT, if you go in the settings, you can go into the memories tab. That is where you can see how the ChatGPT remembers everything about you, because ChatGPT remembers that, okay, you do belong from which region, or what are your preferences and everything, right? So that is where the memory part comes in. Memory part divides into two parts, which is short-term memory and then the long-term memory. That is where the RAG comes in, but we will talk about that later. And then the second thing is like the tool calls, right? So the tool calls is basically where ChatGPT can do things for you outside of this environment, right? Let's say we have this basic environment where you just have the chat and then you just have the ChatGPT, but you want product knowledge to have to be able to or you want ChatGPT to be able to actually access the product knowledge. The way you do that is through tools, right? So that is the second thing. So the first thing is going to be memory, right? The second thing is going to be tools. So what the tools does is, tools are going to allow ChatGPT to be able to use the product knowledge that you have, right? Let's say this product knowledge is able to then communicate with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can somewhere query that, okay, my product that I'm talking about is Office, or the product that I'm talking about is insurance, or the product that I'm talking about is flights or hotels. This is something that ChatGPT is going to interpret, let's say, from the customer message or maybe from the memory. And then what happens is, let's say ChatGPT is able to access this knowledge that, okay, you're talking about Office, right? Then ChatGPT is going to or rather the LLM is going to read all of these notes which is that, okay, what are the refunds policies and what are the cancellations policies, and then going to reply. And that is how in the real world you are going to build the customer support agents. It is not just going to be this part, it is going to be the agent harness that will kick in between, right? Now, you remember we talked about the easy part and the human in the loop part, right? How do you know that there are some of the scenarios where you don't want to reply to a customer, but you would rather want to actually create a ticket so that your human can handle it asynchronously and then reply to customer, right? So the way you do that is also through these notes only. So let's say over here, I would say, if otherwise create a ticket, right? Let's say otherwise create a ticket, right? Now that is, let's say, one of the things that I talk about, which is like, I would want them to either reply to the customer if they have paid fully, or otherwise I would want my LLM to create a ticket. Now what's going to happen is, now create a ticket part is where the human in the loop will come in, right? But our ChatGPT is forced to now say is, let's say if customer says that I would want to do the cancellation, but ChatGPT has access to your database as well. Let's say there is one more tool that you have involved. I think this tool part is going to take another, let's say the tutorial, so we will do that as well. Let's say there is search customer ticket, right, which is going to take the ticket ID, and then is going to, let's say, search for the customer ticket, and then it is going to know that what are the details for the customer ticket, right? And then based on that, it is going to know that, okay, like the customer ticket details are that it is not fully cancelled, or it is not fully paid for, and then based on that, it will either do the fully cancellation, so which is going to be another tool call. There it is going to say that, okay, do the cancellation or create a ticket, right? And create a ticket is where the human in the loop is going to come in, because you will need the human to know that, okay, there is something where customer do require, right? And usually I think most of times what you would rather do is you would rather use and create a ticket on maybe something like a sprinkler, or maybe there are some other platforms that you use where humans are going to now reply to customers directly. So yeah, so that is where the agent harness comes in. So everything that is going to allow ChatGPT to access the data of your company, to access the data from the database through APIs, that is where the agent harness will come in, where it is going to have the access to the memory, it is going to have access to the tools, and it is going to actually think through the loop, right? Will be the loop, because if you see over here, ChatGPT is going to query the search customer ticket. It is going to know about the customer ticket details, and then it will go and then fetch the cancellation details, and then after it fetch the cancellation details, it will either do the cancellation or create the ticket, and after that it is also going to reply. So all of this loop that runs in will be actually what we know as the agent harness. Okay, so now to keep it simple, let's actually look at one of the projects that I built, where you would rather be able to actually see and experience how things actually work in the real world. Let's say I want to look at the details of this project. Give me a second. I need to access my GitHub. Yeah. Okay. So let's say I have already configured, by the way, my configuration of ChatGPT, and the way I have done it is that I use Open Router. So if you ever want to, let's say, have access to ChatGPT, you can either do that by paying directly to ChatGPT developers, or you can go to Open Router. Open Router will give you access to not only ChatGPT but Cloud Code as well, and all other projects as well, such as DeepSeek, and then you can integrate that into your projects, right? So I have built one of the open source projects for now. Let me try to run it. Give me a second. Yeah. So let's say, let me look at one of the examples. I think this is a good example. And this is where my project runs right now. So how do the refunds work? So what it's basically going to do is it is going to look at the customer query, right? How do the refunds work? So that is the customer query. That is what I have written over here. And then the agent also has the name. Right now it is like Tiny Product Copilot. And then agent also has a job, which basically is the profile, you can say, of the agent, right? And the profile that they have right now is that agent product questions from docs, answer product questions from the docs, and escalate when needed, right? So this is the loop. You can see that there was a step 1, and then there was a step 2, and then there was a final answer. And the way it has done is that brain first of all have reasoned, ChatGPT itself have reasoned that I should check the product docs before answering, because it doesn't itself know anything about refunds, right? ChatGPT doesn't know anything about what your company does. So what we do is we decide the behavior that if you don't know anything about it, then you have to go ahead and then search for these things, right? So first thing that it is going to do is it is going to search through the product docs. So that is the product docs that I'm talking about here. Everything that you know about, which is like refunds, cancellations, products like insurance, flights, hotels, or maybe for case of Microsoft, it is Office and Windows, right? Then it is going to decide that, okay, what I really want to know about is the refund policy, because it knows that, okay, customer is talking about refunds, right? So it is able to, let's say, query the refund policy. The refund policy that I have given is this thing only, which is like refund. Customers can request a refund within 14 days if they have not used more than 20% of their monthly quota. So it just had the different requirements, right? And then the brain decides that I have enough information to answer, so it does the final answer, which is customer can request a refund within 14 days if they have not used more than 20% of their monthly quota. So it is able to reply to the customer. Now let's see if I have written some of the example where I will need a human, right? Let's say what I do is I say that, okay, my payment has failed and I need a human. Now this is where I don't want my LLM to let's say reply and hallucinate to customer and say that, okay, I have handled everything for you, without actually informing you, without informing the user, or without informing the human that is there. So the user specifically asked for a human due to a payment failure. The brain has actually reasoned it that customer is asking about some request which it can't handle, and customer need a human for it, so it is going to create a ticket. Now this one I have is like a mock data. I haven't integrated with any of the actual platforms that are there, maybe like Sprinkler or something, though you can do that as well, because it is literally a function call. We will look at the code later on and then see how it actually works. By the way, let's do it right now only. So if I go to my VS Code, this one VS Code. Give me a second. I'm going to open the VS Code. We are looking at the Python version. So let me go ahead and open the Python version for you. So if you look at the create ticket, it is actually the tool name, right? Of course, it's going to be the tool name. That is how you actually are able to give this information to the LLM that there is this API that you can call. But at the end of the create ticket is going to be the function that it can call, right? It is where is it? Create ticket is the function that we have imported from here, right? So there are bunch of utilities that I have added, the tools that I have added. So create ticket is one of them. There it is right now just mocking the data and mocking the ticket ID and then returning back to customers. The others as well, which is like it can access the notes as well. That is how it is able to search for the product notes, and then the product docs as well, right? So all of these tools are basically, you can think of it as the muscle of ChatGPT, so that it can interact with everything that is going on in your company and then answer reasonably to you. So I think that's going to be a long video. Well, I'm going to actually open source this project. This project is going to be live on my GitHub, and I'm going to add this in the comments. If you are watching me on the YouTube, or if you are watching me on the Twitter, then I will just paste it as part of the thread itself. So what I'm going to do next time is maybe we will talk about agent harness, and then maybe we will talk about creating some of the interesting projects that you guys can tell me about. If we are able to, let's say, form the community, then we will create a Discord channel where all of us can just get together and then create some of the interesting things. But yeah, I hope this gives you enough of the let's say the ideas, and that you can maybe talk about if you happen to go in the interview, or if you happen to create the product of your own and you're trying to solve the problem. If you have more ideas, feel free to comment down, or feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, which is at gorexyz, and I will be happy to help. All right, if you do subscribe me if you're watching me and if you like it, and I will be actually making this kind of a series where often hopefully I'm actually trying to do it every day, where I will go and then try to build something and then showcase to you, and not just from the coding perspective, from the architecture perspective, that how do things work. And you can literally take this thing and then put it in ChatGPT and then actually build the product of your own if you want. What I would do is, if I want to build the product, I will actually give this project that I'm going to paste in the comment section to ChatGPT, and then I will give it the open routed key, of course, because you need the LLM key so that you are able to actually do all of these things. And then I will give it my product context, which is like try to create the product docs of your own under the products, right? So if you see over here, these are the product docs I have right now. It is very simple right now. It is like refund, setup, human support, security, cancellation. So all of these things are already there. You can add your own product docs, or you can add your personal notes as well, which is how you want, maybe ChatGPT to have the persona. And then this is the name that I have given, like tiny product copilot, and then the job that it has or the tone that it wanted to have, right? And it is a very simple project for now, which is only able to, let's say, search the notes, search the product talks, or this calculator is because I was building and I thought that okay, let's start with calculator as a simple thing. If you want, you can remove this one, and then if you want to actually integrate this with the sprinkler, then just go ahead and then write code it and then connect the create ticket with your sprinkler, and it will be able to create a ticket for you as well. And then the real brain is actually here, and if you look into it, it is basically open router key is already configured. I'm using GPT-4o mini as the brain. You can use anything else as well, but I do like GPT-4o mini or haiku version, or DeepSeek v4 is also doing a good job, I would say, or Gemini, Flash, anything that you want. And it is just doing a HTTP call to chat completions, and then just because it is able to, let's say, do the completion call, along the way it also give the system prompt. The system prompt is going to be what I want to tell the ChatGPT about, and then the agent state, which is basically the messages that are there that the customer has replied me to, right? Yeah. So it's very simple, and we will talk more about it in next videos. Yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop. And if you are interested to create any of the Discord channel, let me know and we will create it. All right. Thank you.